In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Cuez and also the animator that comes built in with it, which is really powerful. So to get to it pretty quickly, once you open Cuez, it does require a license, but I'd really recommend getting the free trial or contacting them so you can play around and see if this is fit for what you want. When you open Cuez and make an account, over on the top left you can create multiple projects. So I'm going to create a new project for now, and then here you can add a name. I'm going to call it vMix tutorial. Here we go. For project configuration, you can choose if it's a standard episode, you can use existing projects, or use one of the presets that already exist. For this one, let's click esports. I'm going to click select. You can add a project logo, but that's all good. I'm going to click create project. Now that we have this, here we can see the different run of shows that we have, and here we have one run of show here called esports. You can add a date, a certain series, and the date it was created and last edited. So if I click on esports, it's going to open a massive run of show right here. So as you can see, the pre-show, we have a countdown, we're on air, we have a countdown timer, then we have our cold open pre-record, then here we have a lower third strap. So I guess for anyone who doesn't know the word strap, that's basically a lower third graphic. So here we have the name and the gamer tag. As you can see, this is a pretty generic esports show, run of show. So the way the automator works is, depending on the run of show you build, you can automate it, which is really cool. So if you can see here on the right, you have add video and add image. If you create something on the run of show as a producer, you can upload your own image or video, and it will automatically download to the computer of the vMix show or whatever you're automating, and be able to automatically be added into that, which is really cool. So in this case, in vMix, I have a ticker that I created right here. There is an image field, a title field, a subtitle field, and a ticker field. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can automate something like this to essentially control vMix. So let's open up another layout just to show you something else. Let's create a new project, and let's call it talk show. And for the episode configuration, talk show, select, create. There we go. So let's open up the talk show right here, and here we have countdown, opening titles, we have a clip of a jib shot audience applause, but it's pre-recorded, lower third name, some graphics, and then a bunch of different things, which is pretty nice and easy. So we're going to use this for the tutorial's sake. Over on the top right, here you have a button called Automator. So when you press this, it will come up with available automator ready to pair. So when you download the vMix Automator, the Cuez Automator, it will come up with something like this. You want to click Open GUI, and once you open it, it will look something like this. You're going to want to click the back button, because there's nothing connected right now, and here you can add a project. So here I'm going to click Talk Show, Automator, Pair with Project. I'm going to copy the key, and then I'm going to add it here, and click Submit. Now that is done, the talk show should show up here, and when you press it, it will open up. So here we have the run of show 1-to-1 created. So if I open it side by side for you, boom, boom. As you can see, we have the open here at the top. Then we have the welcome. Then we have the jib shot, audience applause right here, lower third strap, graphics, and then more stuff over here. So the way this actually functions, if we put it back here, is all of these different clips, different straps and items that we have, they basically will control what's in vMix, but you first have to set up the automation yourself. So on the top right, the first thing you want to do is click on devices and add a device. For this, I want to add vMix, which is somewhere down the bottom, right here, vMix, and it will automatically have your local host. However, if you're on the same network, you can control a different computer. The second thing you want to do is here have a downloader. So if I click downloader, this is really cool. So when I talked about adding an image or a video, the downloader will download it to that automatic location. So for this, I just want to do it in my D Cuez. So download folder, boom, and then provide the path to the folder from the viewpoint of the device, D Cuez, really cool. I want to do keep file names, or actually turn that off, done. Now, to enable downloading, you need to click here, block and field, so add a media field. I want to download clips, I want to download graphics, and I want to download audio. and then here you have drop downs if there's multiple images in them. So there we go. So any image that we add will now automatically download in here. So for tutorial's sake, let's temporarily add, let's say, a graphic. So let's make one. Let's open up Photoshop and let's get something created. So the first graphic we want to do is going to be a full screen. So let's do the power of kindness. This graphic, the power of kindness. So this will be one of our graphics. Let's file, export this to desktop. We have a Cuez tutorial folder, and we're going to call this graphic 1. The next graphic we have is cultural heritage and traditions. So let's also export this. Quick export as graphic 2. And let's say we also going to want to get the strap, which is the lower third. We don't need to do anything for that. I'll show you later what we'll do. So here we go. Here we have our 2 graphics, which is pretty nice. So let's get rid of Photoshop. We don't need it anymore. Now, if I go over to my Automator, and now that this is set up, you click on the cogwheel and then go to Triggers Configuration. Now this is where the cool stuff is. So you can select a block. So let's select the graphic block. So the way this works is every time you press graphic, it will do a certain number of functions. You have on cue, so whenever you press it. You have steps, where you can essentially add different options on the side. So if you look here, when you click on a graphic, it will have different buttons that you can call something. So there you go, you have undefined, and you can essentially keep adding buttons. So this is what steps are. And you can add visibility conditions. So if you click on a graphic that has multiple layers of animation, you can click animate 1, animate 2, animate 3. So this particularly works for like a map band graphic. So let's say you want to animate map 1, animate map 2, animate map 3. Really cool. You then have timecode, where it listens to a device, so let's say vMix, and you can add a timecode listener. So if you're playing a certain input, and the timecode is running down, let's say a video, it will do certain automation. So let's say you want to wipe if you want to wipe like 30 frames before a video is finished, this will happen. Or 30 milliseconds before the video is finished, it will wipe. You can do it from the start, from the end, or during time in the timecode. So let's say 10 seconds into the video, you want to play a certain video, which is, cool, or certain graphic. That's all possible. So let's delete these so we don't get confused. You also have next, which is really simple. This runs when the next selected block type is the next trigger in the rundown. So when you have a strap and the next available thing is a graphic, it will do a certain automation. So let's say the next thing is a break, it will prepare a break for you, which is pretty cool. So you can kind of do it to your own creativity. You've got blur. So this is when you don't select it anymore. So when you're on a graphic and then you cut away to something else, it will do this automation. And then here you have media downloaded. This runs when media is downloaded and ready to trigger. So you can basically make it, once media is downloaded, do this. Really cool. And then here you have settings, so you can add it to a certain group or a certain text field, which I will show later. So let's clear everything for now, start on a clean sheet. Let's start with on cue. So every time I press this graphic, I wanted to add automation. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go into vMix and let's make a new title. So let's open GT Title Designer, boom, right here. And let's create a graphic and let's open our Cuez tutorial. And this is our template graphic. Let's add an animation for it where it's going to fly in from the bottom of the screen. Boom. Let's get it to be nice, easing it out. And then for transition out, it will fly down again. Boom. And then let's call this image 1. Let's call this our graphic. Let's save this. Call this GT_ full screen. And let's add it into vMix. GT full screen. There we go. So this is where the cool stuff comes in. So on cue, triggers configuration graphic on cue. Whenever you press the graphic, it will, on vMix, do a certain function. So in this case, we wanted to animate. So let's do overlay. So overlay input 1 of which input? Let's do Actually, let's do it differently. Let's do it differently. What we'll do is when you press the graphic, it will come up with two buttons. One button called animate in, one button called animate out. But this button will load it. So when you press the graphic, it will essentially change this title to have the graphic that you want. So this one's the power of kindness. So on vMix, we want it to change the title, image. So let's type in image, I think. Yeah, there you go, set to image. So on the vMix, set image of an input to a certain value or image. So let's do set input, and let's do, where is this? Our GT full screen. Selected value, graphic source. So as you can see, the value comes from images, graphic.source. This is the value that we're changing. So this is the input, the value we're changing, and where is the image coming from? The image is going to come from the block.graphic. So as you can see, on the block here, you have landscape, you have the status. So the template, status, you've got media, you've got a title, and also the bug. So I wanted to take the media. So graphic.media. So whatever I upload here, it will set to be this every time I click on it. Then in the steps section, I'm going to add two step buttons. One will be to animate in, and let's make it, let's say, green. And I'm going to call it animate in. Or actually, let's just call it in, because it's easier. Let's add automation. Whenever you press in, on device, do function. Let's do overlay in. So overlay input 1 in, set input, and then we're going to do GT full screen. Duplicate this and call it out. And then I'm going to do overlay input 1 off. Input 1 off. So, should be pretty easy now. When you press this button, it will, let's actually move it to the side. It will preview it. When you press in, it will animate on 1, and then here you'll do out. So as you can see, there is currently nothing in the images. It's empty. So we need to add an image source in there. So let's go back to another topic. Go on the talk show. Let's upload an image here. So the power of kindness, add image. Let's go to our Cuez tutorial and let's add the power of kindness. And for this one, let's add this image. So the whole premise of this is you give a producer a run of show, they build the entire thing, and then afterwards you automate everything. So as you can see, it's currently uploading. So we're going to wait for these graphics to load. There we go. So as you can see, now it's come up as a tick box that it's uploaded, and it automatically downloaded into my folder. So when I click on this image, as you can see, the GT full screen has it coming in. When I press in, it animates it, and when I press out, it just fully turns off. So I guess we got to do an animate out. Let's configure this button again. So triggers configuration, graphic, steps. Let's fix the out button. Let's do a function. So let's say title begin animation. Or actually, it should be the animation out, right? Transition out. Title or overlay. Let's see if this button works, maybe. So this one still animates on. Let's change it up in graphic, steps, overlay input 1, overlay input 1, out, sorry, yes. So it should be the out instead of off. The out will animate it out, the in will animate it in, the off just hard cuts it. So if we press out, there you go. So this is really cool. You press in, the graphic that you uploaded comes in, then when you press this one, it will load it, and then you can put it in and out. Now the cool thing is, you can fully control a show through only using Cuez. You don't even need to have vMix open, which is really cool. You don't need to press anything there yourself. The whole show that you build here, the graphics you add, you don't even need to drag them as inputs. So as you can see, these graphics that I have coming in, they're literally just all from, as you can see, when you select different stuff, it's all loaded from this file that comes into the run of show, which is really cool. And you can essentially do infinite stuff that you want. So as another example here that I have 2cam, 3cam, 4cam, right? let's go into our talk show here, and let's add in a little, let's add in a new little configuration. So let's add a new block. And then at the bottom, I'm going to click Manage Block Configurations. I'm going to create a new one, and I'm going to call it Camera. It's going to be a Q block. I'm going to create block. And then here, I'm going to add a field. So I have a title, and then I'm going to add a label. So the label is going to be layout. And I'm going to add a few options. I'm going to add a 2-cam layout. I'm going to add a 3-cam layout. And I'm going to add a 4-cam layout. And I'm going to click Add Field. And now here I have camera done. So over below this, I'm going to add a block camera. I'm going to call this 2-cam, and the layout will be 2 cameras. I'm then going to add another one, duplicate, and duplicate. This one will be 3-cam, 4-cam, 4-cam. Oops. This one will be 3-cam. There you go. So I got 2-cam, 3-cam, 4-cam. My little custom camera block that I made. Now remember, you can make this to whatever you want it to be. This is just how I did it. If I go Automator, and here I have 2-cam, 3-cam, 4-cam. If I go to my configurations, triggers configuration, and I select camera down here at the bottom, I can add automation for this custom block. So every time you press on the camera block, which is here, I'm going to add automation. If the camera block, so the layout, if the layout of camera is 2-cam, then on vMix, I'm going to want it to wipe to the 2 cameras. So let's do preview, preview input. Let's preview 2-cam on the main program mix. And then on vMix, I will want it to do a wipe. So this is going to be transition. Transition. And then here it will be stinger 1. There you go. So if the layout is 2-cam, it will preview 2 cams and then wipe to it. Let's duplicate this. If the layout is 3-cam, it will preview 3-cam and wipe to it. If the layout is 4-cam, it will preview 4-cam and wipe to it. So let me show you how this works. So we're currently on a graphic, 2-cam, previews 2-cam, and then it will do the wipe. But now it's not working for some reason. Let's check why. Triggers configuration, camera. So do transition program stinger. Let's have a look. Let's maybe add a delay. Let's see if that helps. Okay, so that is not doing it. Okay, let's try it a different way. Maybe I chose the wrong transition. Let's do functions stinger 1 on 2-cam. Maybe this will work. There you go, it does. I just chose the wrong option. So let's get rid of these and retry this again. So if something doesn't work the way you want it to, just look for a different function, or you can put a custom one in from vMix. It's just all trial and error, and everyone learns as they go, as you can see. So now it should be functioning. When I press 2-cam, it will wipe to 2-cam, 3-cam will wipe to 3-cam, and 4-cam will wipe to 4-cam. And it is as simple as going into the run of show and just selecting a layout. So depending on what layout you have, it will do a certain function. Now, as you can see in the graphics, right, that we added, you have the power of kindness one, and I can animate it in and out. And then here I have another graphic in and out. Let's say we want to do it this way. If a certain graphic is a landscape or portrait, as an example, in this template, we want to do something different. So let's go into our triggers configuration, go into our graphic. So right now what we always have is it will always load it in. Now we wanted to do some more functions. If it's this, do this. If it's that, do this. So in our steps, we currently have that it's always going to do a certain function. So overlay input 1. Now what you can do is, if this graphic is this, so if this graphic is, let's go graphic.template. If it's landscape, animate it. If it's landscape, animate it. So over here, if this one is a portrait, this one technically should not work. There you go. So you cannot animate this graphic because it's labeled as portrait. This one you can animate because it's labeled as landscape, if you understand what I mean. So you can essentially create so many conditions depending on what labels you have. So you see how you have a button here called ready pending rejected? Let's do it on this. If the status is ready, we do it. So if status is ready, in, out. If the graphic is ready and approved, you're able to animate it. If it's not, you cannot, which is really cool. So right now the status is rejected, you cannot do it. So for this, we can also add a visibility condition, which is cool. So if the status is ready, it will be available. If status is ready. So as you can see, if you click here, you have in, out, but here you can't animate it because it's rejected, which is pretty cool. So we can add another configuration, and we can add a button that says rejected. So boom, in, out, and here it's gone because it's rejected. However, if we change this to ready and that it's approved, now when I click here, as you can see, it's ready and I can animate it in and out. So this is really cool. Imagine you have a bunch of producers where they upload a run of show and then someone goes through and says that this is ready or rejected, and then it will basically allow you or not allow you to do certain graphics. But the possibilities are endless. This is just something I came up with now for the sake of doing a tutorial. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is basically animating this little title field, which is cool. So I'm going to create a new configuration and I'm going to call it segment or ticker. I'll call it ticker. Let's create it to be, I don't know, orange, create block. Let's add a few different fields to it. So the ticker has an image, title, subtitle, ticker. So in the fields we have title. Let's add another field and call it subtitle. Then let's add another field which is going to be a media. Let's call this image. Media type image. And here you can select the display, whatever. So we have title, subtitle, image. Let's just do that for now. So over here I can add a block, ticker, and it's going to ask me for stuff. So let's call this vMix tutorial Cuez Automator. So the title will be vMix tutorial. Cuez Automator will be the subtitle, and then we can add an image, and let's just load this one in, just temporarily, you know, because we don't have anything else. So now let's automate this. Let's go into our automator, click configuration, triggers configuration. Let's select our ticker and add automation. On queue, we want it to always update everything. So on vMix, we want it to update the title. So here, I think it's gonna be text. Yeah, so set text. So we want to set the text of the ticker, the value of the title, so it's going to change the title, and the value is going to be the block.title. So what this does is the block title is whatever you have here. This is the block subtitle, and this is the block media. As you can see, the image should probably download here in a second. Actually, it's not going to download. Do you know why? Because I forgot to add it. So in your device's configuration, in your downloader, you need to make sure you add a media field and select ticker and download the image. Once you add that, you can see it's instantly downloaded. Cool, let's go back to our triggers configuration. So let's click ticker. So every time we press the ticker, it will take whatever the text we have and add it here. Let's duplicate this. We want to change the subtitle to be the subtitle of what we have on the block. And then we also want to set the image. So function image, set image of the ticker of the image.source to change it to the block image. So if you have a look here, let's add another one of these so we can show you how it's going to change. Duplicate. Let's call this example2 whatever text. And then change this from the power of kindness. We can remove media and add this cultural heritage and traditions graphic. So let's wait for it to upload. We can close this little block. And what you'll see is really cool. So let's say we have this graphic on the entire time. This is our program. Let's make it bigger for you to be able to see a little better. So here we have basically a random empty field, a subtitle field, and a bit of text. This is actually the same way that I'm going to do this for a podcast I'm creating, where essentially if you click a certain segment, it will automatically update the ticker without you having to do it manually, which is really cool. And then you can just input the run of show before in kind of a way like this, which is nice. Cool, so the media is added and downloaded. So if I click into my Automator and I press vMix tutorial, as you can see, it changes. So here's the image I added. As you can see, it's not the correct resolution because I set it to be 1920 x 1080, but whenever I click between the two different ones, it changes the image and the text, which is really cool. Now imagine you quickly gotta, add a new segment, or the producer's like, oh, let's do this and this. Rather than you downloading everything, this is how long it takes. Producer goes here, they take this block, they duplicate it. So here, duplicate. They want to call this new segment, quick, and then quickly add a new image. Remove, boom, let's add this image in. All it takes is for the image to process and download. And let's wait. Let's wait. It's processing. As you can see here, it's added as a new segment and it's uploading the media currently. Once it's downloaded, you'll be able to see it. And as a note, you can also do the exact same thing with videos too, which is pretty cool. But for the sake of this, we're only doing images. There you go, media added, and as you can see here, it's going to be ready. So now you press this, new segment, quick. So that's how long it takes. For new graphics, everything, remotely, your graphics producer, your producer can do all of this, which is really, really cool. Now, one last thing I'm going to show you before I basically finish this off is some buttons you can add at the top. So if you click here on the settings, you have a bunch of different things. Rundown events, macros, buttons, timers, whatever, just play around with it all. Cuez deck buttons. So here, it's pretty nice. Essentially what Cuez deck is here at the top. So you can click on these little three dots and click add a Cuez deck button. And you can call this or whatever, or let's call this ticker. And it can be a switch or a status for a device for a certain property. So if it's recording, it will be a certain color or whatever, or say it's recording, which is nice. You can enable or disable it. For the sake of this, it's going to be a switch, and let's call it ticker. Toggled on, we want to add an automation. So our ticker is on overlay 1 right now. We want to do overlay 1 in, or let's do it on overlay 2. Input 2 in, and then input is going to be the ticker. And then for the automation of off, we want to do the same thing. Overlay input to off, or input to out. There you go. So whenever you press this, it will turn it off, and this will turn it on. So on, out. So you can enable the ticker up at the top of the screen, which is really cool. So if I turn this off, let's say I selected this ticker. Let's make sure it's off. There we go. Oh, why is it always... Oh, I have it on overlay 1. I'm an idiot. There you go. So you can select which ticker you're on and then turn it on. And you can change it to a different one, change it to a different one, and so on. So yeah, it's pretty cool. You can do a load of this stuff. Do whatever you like. Just be as creative as you want. But as you can see, I added different camera blocks, different graphics blocks, different ticker blocks. It's basically infinite things you can do with the Automator, which is cool. So just play around, see what you can do, and then just get on with it. That's it. Thank you for watching.
Looking for your next gig? Join our exclusive broadcast Discord, where the pros connect, collaborate, and grow.